How have you seen a person's life be ruined in a single day? We had extended family together for an holiday, and everyone was making jokes about how my cousin was late. His mom and dad were involved in the jokes, texting him being upset about how he was late and all. Turns out, someone hit him in a head-on collision on his way over and he died on impact. The police knocked on the door to notify the family like a fucking movie. I'll never forget watching the family crumple to the ground. An 18-year-old tried to steal a couple bottles of Hennessy from my store. When I confronted him, he swung the bottle at my head and connected. I rolled with the blow so he didn't do much damage. Charged with assault and robbery by my company. Violent crimes offender and lost custody of his baby. I was working in a bank. One day the director fired one of his executives. The whole "empty your desk, you're fired" speech in front of everyone. The director was furious and the guy seemed entirely destroyed. Then he explains to all that this guy gave his login and password to a friend in another branch. The friend used that login and others while doing some kind of credit card fraud. Police arrested them but lacked evidence against the fired guy, so they just fired him on the spot. Obviously, besides losing his job, he was also blacklisted to work in banks or finance. I play poker. I once saw a man on my way in betting about 10k all on one roulette spin. It chose red and lost. He looked defeated. Later that night, a guy at our table told us that he heard a guy on the phone crying in the parking lot trying to explain to his wife that he lost their money. She was screaming and said she wants a divorce. As a marriage counselor, I often see one confession from a partner absolutely ruin their partner's life, future, self-esteem. It's heartbreaking. A kid I went to school with and his sister died in a car crash. They were in a car behind a parent's car driving the older sister to her first year of college. Parents made a turn and no longer saw the kid's car behind them. I would say finding both your kids dead is up there. Edit. Two cars. Kid's car behind the parent's car on a, if I recall the stretch, two-lane highway. My neighbor knocked on the door early one morning. We'd never met. He introduced himself and wanted me to know why there might be a lot of cars parked in front of the house. All three of his children had died in a car accident the night before. One of my friends was playing online with me when I hear a knock on his door through the mic. His parents walk in and decide to tell them that he is adopted and that they are getting a divorce. All in one go. No emotional breaks or anything, and my friend just breaks down over the mic as his parents walk out. At least several times a month, we had to take care of a family who learned that their child had cancer that day. Pretty terrible life-altering news. I spent a lot of time distracting kids with board games / coloring while their parents were talking to doctors, crying, and then amazingly pulling it together to continue on. I knew a guy who, within the same 24 hours, learned that his wife of 7 years was pregnant with someone else's child. His wife was filing for divorce, and she was going to try to get their house to herself, because she was the primary signer of their mortgage, because his credit wasn't so hot. That was brutal to see. When I was about 13, I was talking with my best friend at a playground on a hill. Suddenly, this lady comes racing down on her bike. She's not wearing an helmet, which was unfortunate because her bike slipped from underneath her and she goes flying, smacks her head into a corner. I was too young to know this at the time, but I'm almost certain she died instantly. Wear a helmet. A girl in my class got caught with a thermos full of vodka, and when the teacher caught her, she got sent to the principal's office. Well, when the principal asked her why she was drinking, the girl told him that she had been sleeping with a school resource officer. Dude was a cop stationed at the school having sex with a 10th grader. got dragged out of the school by officers that worked alongside them. At the court hearing, they found out he was having sex with two more girls at the school. His wife and two kids were in the courtroom to support him, because he told them he was innocent. That kinda caved when one of the girls had a video of the two of them having sex. Yep, and I did it. Boss said and produced kiddie porn. It disturbed me so much I spoke with a friend who was a desk sergeant the town over and asked what could be done. He passed word along to the chief of the town where it was happening. 2 days later, the biggest cop I've ever seen walked through the door of our shop and asked to see everyone's ID. Cuffed and stuffed. You should have seen his face when I was summoned to testify at the grand jury hearing. Added, this whole thing has been sort of a cleansing for me. I've never spoken about it to anyone other than my wife, who supported my decision to become a jobless college student, with a family and mortgage. Thanks for the honest and kind words. I had a former colleague who was doing his residency in general surgery. He had just started his 5th and final year of training. One day, in the middle of a surgical case, the police show up at the hospital for him. A tech pulled him out of the OR, and he was arrested right there on the spot in front of everybody, still in most of his surgical attire. He had to do the walk of shame through the entire hospital, in handcuffs and OR scrubs. Turns out his ex-wife had gone to the police claiming that he had molested their children. The children testified to this effect as well. All of us were blown away. This was the sweetest, most cheerful guy ever. Nobody thought him capable of doing something like this. Sure enough, it came out several months later that the kid's statements were coerced and that his ex-wife falsified the whole thing. It wasn't the first time she had attempted to screw him over, but it was definitely the most successful. Dude's career and life were fucked. I'm sober 6 years. There was a guy who used to attend meetings in my circle who picked up a drink on a Friday after being sober for more than 2 decades. They found him in the bay on Monday morning. Co-worker got caught stealing and got fired. He went home and told his wife, and apparently she had enough and left him and took the kids. Police found him in the next morning in the woods deceased. I saw a man's life just crumble in less than 24 hours. Okay, for some context, when I say steal, I mean close to 100,000 in precious metals from a cushy federal government job. Added to, he was going to be arrested and knew it. Also, he killed himself for everyone asking. When I was in MIT school, we were told about a paramedic student, instructor was a paramedic as well, who observed a stabbing call. They arrived at the bar and see a dude with a knife in his abdomen. Medic student takes lead and pulls the knife out, something you never do, as I'm sure you know. Senior medic loses his fucking mind at this dumbass, asking him what the fuck he was thinking. Student freaks out and, you guessed it, puts the fucking knife back in. The patient died as a result. Student lost any chance of having a good job, not even just in AMS, and was charged with the death of the patient. Might have been manslaughter, I don't remember. His entire life was ruined because he freaked out and made a mistake on a call. Not a rookie mistake or a common slip-up, but in about half a minute he ruined his life. Not my personal experience, but a national news story. A van full of college students got into an accident and most of them died, but one girl survived with major injuries. She had facial trauma and was hospitalized for weeks. She kept repeating another girl's name as she was recovering. Turns out she was saying her own name. She and another similarly built, same hair and eye-colored female passenger were mistakenly identified for each other in the aftermath of the crash. Her family had a funeral for her, and the other girl's family were the ones at her bedside before the misidentification was realized. I cannot even imagine the suffering of thinking your daughter was alive for weeks and then learning she'd be dead all along, or having a funeral for a child who was actually alive and you didn't know.